चलिए अब हम कंसेप्चुअल पोर्शन पे आ जाते हैं इमरजेंसी पोर्शन के। सो वी स्टार्ट विद आर्टिकल 352 कंसेप्चुअल पार्ट। इसमें हमारा टॉपिक होगा जस्टिशियबिलिटी ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट्स डिस्क्रेशन। अब आर्टिकल 352 के हिसाब से प्रेसिडेंट प्रोक्लेमेशन ऑफ इमरजेंसी कर सकते हैं व्हेन ही सेटिस्फाइड दैट देयर इज अ थ्रेट टू द सिक्योरिटी ऑफ इंडिया और पार्ट देयर ऑफ। इतना आप समझ चुके हैं बेयर एक्ट पढ़ के, ठीक है। अब सवाल उठता है कि क्या जो प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया का जो डिस्क्रेशन है आर्टिकल 352 में, इसमें कोर्ट्स इंटरफेयर कर सकते हैं या नहीं। तो देखिए, इसमें पहले मैं आपको पुराना व्यू बताता हूँ। जो पुराना व्यू था वो था भूतनाथ वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल का, AIR 1974, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, पेज नंबर 806। वहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रिफ्यूज कर दिया था टू होल्ड द कंटिन्यूएंस ऑफ इमरजेंसी अंडर आर्टिकल 352 एज वॉइड, स्टेटिंग दैट दिस क्वेश्चन इज अ पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चन and it is not a justiciable issue and the appeal should be to the polls and not to the court। ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ओपिनियन था। अब in order to put this matter beyond any shadow of the doubt, the Constitution 38th Amendment Act 1975 amended the Constitution and added these words that the satisfaction of the president shall not be questioned in any court on any ground। ठीक है, मतलब इस केस लॉ के बाद पार्लियामेंट ने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को अमेंड किया था बाय एडिंग दीज वर्ड्स कि जो आर्टिकल 352 में प्रेसिडेंट का सेटिस्फैक्शन है उसको जो कोर्ट्स हैं वो इंक्वायर नहीं करेंगे। बट 44th अमेंडमेंट ने जो 38th अमेंडमेंट का जो क्लॉज था उसको रिमूव कर दिया। तो अभी प्रेजेंट की पोजीशन है 44th अमेंडमेंट वाली। तो 44th अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने क्या किया, 44th अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने जब 38th अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को हटा दिया तो उससे पुरानी वाली पोजीशन रीस्टोर हो गई। अब बात यह है कि 1975 के बाद ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन नहीं आई जहां पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैड टू सिट अपॉन अ मैटर विच इन्वॉल्व्ड नेशनल इमरजेंसी अंडर आर्टिकल 352। पर मिनर्वा मिल्स के केस में जस्टिस भगवती ने एक ओपिनियन जरूर एक्सप्रेस किया था और मैं चाहता हूं वो आप सुने। ये ओपिनियन था जस्टिस भगवती इन द केस ऑफ मिनर्वा मिल्स वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया एक्सप्रेस द व्यू दैट द प्रेसिडेंट इन प्रोक्लेमिंग emergency under article 352, the question whether he has applied his mind or whether he has acted outside his power or acted malified in proclamation of emergency cannot be excluded from the scope of judicial review। समझे? तो ये ओपिनियन जरूर एक्सप्रेस किया था जस्टिस भगवती ने। साथ ही साथ ये भी ऑब्जर्व किया था कि आफ्टर 38th अमेंडमेंट which barred the satisfaction of the president being called into question in a court that could be declared unconstitutional as violative of the basic structure of the constitution, judicial review has now been regarded as the basic feature of the constitution। So reading along those lines, if let us suppose 44th amendment was not there and 38th amendment was still there, then the judges were inclined to strike it down। जस्टिस भगवती का यही ओपिनियन था कि जुडिशियल रिव्यू के स्कोप से उसे बाहर नहीं रखा जा सकता और अगर 38 अमेंडमेंट अभी होता भी ना तो उसको अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कर देते क्योंकि बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है जुडिशियल रिव्यू। ठीक है, तो जहां तक मेरा मानना है, एक एकेडमिक एजुकेटेड गेस यही होगा कि जुडिशरी डज हैव द पावर ऑफ जुडिशियल रिव्यू, और नेशनल इमरजेंसी हो या ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मशीनरी हो या इवन फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी, द पावर ऑफ जुडिशियल रिव्यू is vested with the courts and the courts will exercise that power given that the situation is apt। अब एक क्यूरियोसिटी सेक के लिए आपको बता देता हूँ, आर्टिकल 352 अभी तक सिर्फ 3 बार इन्वोक किया गया है। ठीक है, कितनी बार? 3 बार। तो अ प्रोक्लेमेशन ऑफ इमरजेंसी अंडर आर्टिकल 352 फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम वाज इन्वोक्ड ऑन 26 October 1962 in the wake of conflict with China, and it remained in force during Indo-Pakistan conflict in 1965 and was revoked only in January 1968। Emergency again under this article was proclaimed on December 1971 as a result of Indo-Pakistan dispute on the ground of external aggression। And during this proclamation, while the proclamation of 1971 was still effective, another proclamation was issued on June 26, 1975. This time the proclamation was issued on the ground of internal disturbance threatening the security of India, and both of these proclamations were revoked in March 1977. Thus, from June 26, 1975 to March 1977, two emergency proclamations were in force simultaneously. Now let me just tell you about some political considerations. The proclamation which was issued on 1975 on the ground of internal disturbance proved to be the most controversial. There was violation of the fundamental rights of the people on a large scale, and drastic press censorship was imposed. A large number of persons were put in preventive detention during those times. The reasons for imposing the emergency were explained by central government in a white paper dated July 21, 1975, and the two houses of the parliament approved the proclamation on the same day. The general public perception was that issuing of this proclamation amounted to misuse of the power on the part of central government of the day, insofar as there was no real emergency. The public reaction to the proclamation was so intense that when the elections were held in 1977 for the Lok Sabha, after proclamation ceased to exist, the Congress party, which was responsible for the proclamation, lost its majority and the Janata government came to power. The Janata government appointed Shah Commission to probe into these circumstances which led to the declaration of emergency in 1975. The commission in its report held that there was no evidence of any circumstances which could warrant the declaration of emergency in 1975. There was no unusual event or even tendency in that direction to justify the imposition of emergency, and there was no threat at all to the well-being of the nation from the external or internal forces. One of the direct results of the proclamation of emergency in 1975 was the amendment of Article 352 by the 44th Amendment of the Constitution, so as to introduce some more safeguards therein against any unwarranted declaration of emergency in future. The idea underlying the 44th Constitutional Amendment is that it ought to be ensured that what happened in 1975 cannot be repeated in future. अब हम बात कर लेते हैं आर्टिकल 356 का, पर उस पे आने से पहले लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन आर्टिकल 356 वर्सेस आर्टिकल 352. अब there is some material difference between the two. While Article 352 restricts the central intervention to a war situation, external aggression or armed rebellion, Article 356 applies to a situation of failure of constitutional machinery in the state. Article 352 gives no authority to suspend the constitution in the state. The state governments and the legislatures continue to function normally in the exercise of the power assigned to them under the constitution. All that happens under Article 352 is that the center gets concurrent powers of legislation in the state matters, and thus it can make the states follow a uniform all India policy. On the other hand, under Article 356, the state legislature ceases to function as it's either dissolved or kept in suspended animation in practice. Law for the state are made by parliament, and the governor administers the state on behalf of the president. Further, Article 352 affects the fundamental right, while Article 356 does not. Under Article 352, the relationship of all states with the center undergoes a change, but under Article 356, the relationship of only one state where the action is taken with the center is affected. The power of the center under Article 356 as well as the power under Article 352 are rigorously controlled by the Constitution. The proclamation under Article 356 is approved by Parliament first within the 2 months and thereafter every 6 months, and the maximum period for which it can remain in force is 3 years. On the other hand, a proclamation under Article 352 has to be approved by the President within a month and thereafter every 6 months, but there is no maximum duration prescribed for the operation of such proclamation. Though the scope and the purpose of Article 352 and 356 are very different, yet there may be a situation where Article 356 may have to be invoked to effectuate Article 352. Where the state government, for example, does not cooperate with the center in defense or in quelling the internal disturbance, or when it encourages the same. Okay? Now Article 356 has been invoked n number of times. बहुत बार ये invoke हुआ है, मतलब I have lost the count. I think so far it has been used more than 125 times. So now let us understand the consequences of invoking Article 356. Now if we read Article 356 along with Article 357, a pattern emerges that whenever the center takes over a state government, the center has to act only when the government has reported that there is a constitutional machinery in the state and has to act in accordance with the parameters of Article 356 and Article 357. In practice, it has been witnessed that in no case the central government has acted on the otherwise ground. ठीक है, जो आर्टिकल 356 में ना चाहे गवर्नर की रिपोर्ट हो या अदरवाइज, इन प्रैक्टिस क्या देखा गया है? इन प्रैक्टिस देयर इज जीरो केसेस जहां पे सेंटर हैज एक्टेड ऑन द ग्राउंड जो अदरवाइज मेंशन है. थियोरेटिकली दो ग्राउंड अवेलेबल हैं सेंटर के पास, गवर्नर की रिपोर्ट या अदरवाइज. अब अदरवाइज को आप कितना भी लिबरली कंस्ट्रू कर सकते हैं, बट इन प्रैक्टिस देखा गया है कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सोली एक्ट्स ऑन द गवर्नर्स रिपोर्ट. ठीक है, तो जब गवर्नर अपनी रिपोर्ट देते हैं प्रेसिडेंट को, तब भी प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया के पास डिस्क्रेशन रहता है एंड ही इज अंडर नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ऑब्लिगेशन टू इम्पोज एन इमरजेंसी merely on the ipse dixit of the governor's report. So when the proclamation is issued by the president under Article 356, it has to be placed before the parliament. If it is expected to remain in force only for 2 months, then no further action is necessary. But if it is proposed to keep it in force for a longer period, then it has to be ratified by the both houses of the parliament, and a discussion is to be held on the circumstances leading to the issue of the proclamation and on the advisability or otherwise of the central's intervention. Now the president can assume to himself the powers of the governor, and one of the powers of the governor is to dissolve the legislative assembly. Consequently, when the president issues a proclamation and assumes the governor's power, the power to dissolve the assembly and hold fresh elections is automatically transferred to the president. Therefore, the president's proclamation may dissolve the state legislature and the arrangements for holding fresh elections are set afoot. But it is not the inevitable to dissolve the state legislature whenever the proclamation is issued. Several times the state legislature has to be kept in a suspended animation rather than it being dissolved. Now in the meantime, Parliament becomes entitled to exercise the authority and the powers of the state legislature when it is suspended or dissolved. Parliament, being a busybody, finds it extremely burdensome to itself exercise the legislative power of the concerned state and pass all the legislative measures needed for the state concerned. Necessary time would not be available for the parliament for the purpose and measure of all India importance would be held up if the parliament were to take up the burden of exercising power of the state legislature. Therefore, under Article 357, Parliament passes an act and delegates the legislative power to the state concerned for the duration of the emergency to the president, that is the central executive. The president can then enact the president's act for the state concerned whether parliament is in session or not. ये मैं practice में क्या होता है मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको, ठीक है. Each president's act is laid before the parliament which may direct any modification to be effected therein, and the president would carry out the same by enacting and amending the act. Provision is usually made in the delegating act for the appointment of a parliamentary committee for consultation in the legislative work. All members in parliament from the state concerned are appointed members of the committee. So as mentioned, under Article 356, the president may assume to himself all or any of the functions of the state government and all or any of the functions exercisable by the governor. Usually the president, after the assumption of the powers of the state government, exercises these powers through the state governor. The administration of the state under the proclamation under Article 356 is carried on by the state governor as a delegate of the center. In effect, governor acts on the advice of the union ministry and not on the advice of the state ministry. The governor becomes responsible to the central government, which is in turn responsible to the Lok Sabha. The Council of Ministers in the state does not remain in office. It usually resigns suo motu in anticipation of the center's action If it does not do so, it would be dismissed from office, or it can be dismissed from office if the President of India is so inclined. Now, when can Article 356 be invoked? Now, the sweep of this phrase that the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provision of the Constitution in Article 356 has indefinite connotations. The failure of the constitutional machinery in the state may arise because of various factors. These factors can be diverse and imponderable. Nevertheless, some situation of the breakdown of the constitutional machinery may be as follows. First, no party in the assembly has a majority in the state legislative assembly to be able to form the government. Second, a government in office loses its majority due to defections and no alternative government can be formed. Thirdly, a government may have majority support in the house, but it may function in a manner subversive to the constitution. For example, it may promote fissiparous tendencies in the state, or it refuses to follow a Supreme Court's judgment, or it refuses to follow the center's directives. Fourth, the state government does not comply with the directions issued by the central government under various constitutional provisions. Fifth, security of the state may be threatened by a widespread breakdown of law and order in the state. Sixth, it may be debatable whether Article 356 can be invoked when there are serious allegations of corruption against the chief minister and the ministers in the state. Now, let me tell you about this thing, that when the matter of corruptions are involved, the issue becomes highly political. Okay? It becomes highly political. So usually it would not be proper for the center to impose emergency merely on this ground alone, unless and until there is a huge margin of evidence that unless and until the central government imposes emergency, till then the corruption will keep on continuing. But theoretically, if you ask me, then I can say that it can be argued plausibly that the constitutional machinery would obviously be broken down when the government itself is indulging into corruption. If the government itself is corrupt, then how can you say that it is being run in accordance with the constitution? You can argue that way also. But I am also being a bit practical, क्योंकि practically आप देखे होंगे कि practically ऐसा नहीं होता है. Practically वहाँ पे बहुत सारे grounds होने चाहिए. तो मेरे हिसाब से अगर करप्शन कोई अगर आप ग्राउंड लेंगे, देन अगर गवर्नमेंट इटसेल्फ इज बीइंग करप्ट, तो इस ग्राउंड पे बहुत सारी गवर्नमेंट्स डिसॉल्व हो सकती हैं. ठीक है, क्योंकि मिनिस्टर्स का और चीफ मिनिस्टर्स का करप्शन इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट सीरियस ग्राउंड्स ऑफ वायलेशन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ओथ, व्हाइल एट द सेम टाइम इट इज ऑल्सो अ ओपन सीक्रेट इन द सोसाइटी. यू ऑल मस्ट बी नोइंग दैट कि एवरीबडी थिंक, मतलब ये जनरल परसेप्शन है पब्लिक का कि मिनिस्टर्स आर जनरली करप्ट, स्टेट ऑफिसर्स आर जनरली करप्ट. ये पब्लिक परसेप्शन है. तो क्या आप परसेप्शन के बेसिस पे आर्टिकल 356 इन्वोक कर सकते हैं? ऑब्वियसली नॉट. इसके लिए बहुत माउंटेन ऑफ एविडेंस चाहिए जो सेंटर के पास अवेलेबल होना चाहिए. ठीक है, तो एक करप्शन वाला ग्राउंड काफ़ी हाईली डिबेटेबल है. अभी जो मैंने 6 ग्राउंड बताए हैं ये एग्जॉस्टिव नहीं है. देखिए जो फ्रेज है ना कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द स्टेट कैन नॉट बी कैरिड ऑन इन अकॉर्डेंस विद द प्रोविजन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, ये इतना वाइड है, उसके कॉनोटेशंस इतने वाइड हैं कि इसको लिमिट नहीं किया जा सकता. और ये ज़रूरी भी है. अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि इसको हटा देना चाहिए, इसको बिल्कुल भी नहीं हटाना चाहिए. ये ज़रूरी है. बस ये है कि इसमें कुछ सेफ गार्ड्स लगा देने चाहिए जिससे सेंटर जो है अपनी पावर अब्यूज़ ना कर पाए. और सेफ गार्ड्स मेरे हिसाब से जुडिशियल रिव्यू के फॉर्म में अवेलेबल है. ठीक है, judicial review itself is a very good safeguard, and I don't think that Article 356 should either be amended or repealed. इसको बिल्कुल भी हटाना नहीं चाहिए. अब जरा मैं आपको ना इंडिया की पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री से एक एपिसोड बताता हूँ. अब ये केरला एपिसोड इसको मैं कहता हूँ. इट ब्रॉट इनटू शार्प फोकस द क्वेश्चन ऑफ द स्कोप ऑफ आर्टिकल 356 and the circumstances under which it could be invoked. And what is the actual significance of the word in accordance with the provision of the Constitution as has been used under Article 356? Do these words merely mean the letter of the Constitution or include within its ambit the democratic spirit, conventions and the fundamental assumptions on which the Constitution is based? ठीक है, अब इस सिचुएशन में केरला में क्या हुआ था कि the communist ministry, the communist party which was holding a majority in the state of Kerala was dismissed. So what happened is that in 1957, a communist ministry commanding a majority in the state assembly of 127 members took to office, and within 2 years there was a widespread discontent and mass upsurge in the state against the policies of the ministries. The law and order situation in the state practically broke down, and there was every indication that the agitations might take a violent turn. Now the accusations were made that the state government was subverting the constitution by transplanting party cells in the police, administration and the cooperative societies in the state. The financial position of the state very much deteriorated. The Prime Minister advised the state ministry to resign and dissolve the house so that fresh elections could be held. But the ministry did not heed this advice. In the circumstances, on the receipt of the governor's report, the centre invoked Article 356, dismissed the state ministry and dissolved the legislature. After the fresh elections were held to the state legislature, a new state government took to office in early 1960. The proclamation thus remained in force for nearly 6 months. Now when you hear this episode, now one hand it could be argued that since in Kerala there was government in office and enjoying the confidence of the majority of the legislature, theoretically administration was in accordance with the provision of the constitution. Now on the other hand, you can also argue that the provisions of the constitution should be interpreted not in a narrow literal sense to signify only the formal written words in the constitution, but also comprising the conventions, usages and the democratic spirit underlying the constitution. If the forms of the constitution are used to subvert its spirit, then the constitution can be regarded as having broken down in the state. As the preamble to the constitution declares India as a sovereign, democratic republic, etc., etc., the subversion of the democracy in any state may be regarded as against the provision of the constitution, and the action may be taken on that basis. I incline to this view. Now the Communist Party characterized the central government's action as political intolerance on the part of the Congress government at the center towards the communist government in the state. The central government justified its actions on the ground that law and order has broken down and that the rule of law and the constitution has been subverted in the state, and the action was inevitable if the democratic institutions were to be protected from being destroyed. The presidential proclamation was approved by the parliament by a huge majority. In the context, therefore, the central intervention could not be characterized as unwarranted or unjustified. Now, fundamentally, it would be difficult to argue that the center is supposed to remain as a passive spectator when the entire constitutional fabric is being subverted in a state. This would amount to violation of Article 355 on the part of central government. Kerala, it should be noted that regarding Kerala, there was some chronic case that for some times it fell under president's rule multiple times. For example, on 10 September 1964, the president assumed the governance of the state consequent upon the resignation of the ministry. A general election was held in March 1965. It again resulted in a fragmented house with no prospect of a stable government, and after consulting the party leaders, the governor reported to the president that it was not possible to form the council of ministers in the state. The state legislature was dissolved again and the president rule was imposed. A writ petition challenging the central action on the ground that the state legislature could not have been dissolved without meeting at all was rejected by the Kerala High Court, and the court also rejected the contention that the president's rule was nullified. तो बेसिकली हमें ये सिचुएशन पता चल जाती है. मेरे हिसाब से ये एक्शन एकदम ठीक था कि कोई भी गवर्नमेंट अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की स्पिरिट को तोड़ने की कोशिश करेगी by using the same provision of the constitution, then that government cannot be said to be exercising its functions in accordance with the provision of the constitution, and the center ought to take action. Let me tell you one more sordid incident of the past. You must be remembering 6th of December 1992. You might have heard of it. Of course you won't be remembering it. You don't even, I think many of you wouldn't have been even born during that time. Some of you might have, but not all of you. So on 6th December 1992, the Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid disputed structure was demolished by the volunteers of BJP and its sister organizations. Consequently, the BJP government in the state of Uttar Pradesh resigned. The central government invoked Article 356 and dismissed the BJP government in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Himachal Pradesh, and dissolved the assemblies therein, and issued a proclamation under Article 356 in respect of these states. These steps taken by the centre were supported by all opposition parties in the parliament, of course, except the BJP. So, on what ground was there a justification? Of course, that they were trying to destroy the secular fabric of India, and hence the emergency that no, not the emergency, Article 356 that was invoked against them was a valid thing. One of the grounds on which you can justify such a move is that theoretically and temporarily a bigger democracy, that is the central government, by central government का भी election होता है, सब वोट डालते हैं, है ना? तो theoretically for a temporary period, a bigger democracy, that is the central government, takes over a smaller democracy, that is the state government. Parliament is a representative body elected on the adult suffrage on all India basis, in which the whole of India becomes responsible for the good administration of one of its constituent parts. The state administration is run subject to the supervision of the central cabinet, which is responsible to the parliament. Nevertheless, there is no gainsaying the fact that the power placed by Article 356 in the hands of central government is very significant and places a greater responsibility on it, and inherent therein are the seeds of conflict between the centre and the states, particularly when the central government seeks to dismiss a state ministry belonging to a different political party. Now, in practice, it has been noticed that the centre is mostly motivated by political rather than the constitutional considerations in using its power under Article 356. The way the power is used is bound to have an adverse effect on the growth of Indian federalism, which envisages coexistence of the governments of different political complexion. It is therefore extremely necessary that the powers under Article 356 is used with circumspection and in a non-partisan manner. Okay? Article 356 is meant to be invoked not lightly to serve political ends or to get rid of an inconvenient state government, but only in an extreme case of demonstrable breakdown of the constitution in the state. Now finally I will come to the justiciability of Article 356. Now I can quote many cases like State of Rajasthan versus Union of India, where a question of great significance in context of Article 356 was raised. But I must tell you that the case that you would be quoting primarily would be S.R. Bommai versus Union of India. I will come to that. First of all, let me just explain to you the case of State of Rajasthan versus Union of India, EIR 1977, Supreme Court, page number 1361. There are many other cases in the past as well. This is not the first case. There had been many other cases. But the thing is that the court's view earlier was that it will not inquire. ठीक है, पुराना view यही था. So let us start with Rajasthan versus Union of India. So what happened in this case? See, when the general elections for the Lok Sabha were held in the country in 1977 and after lifting of emergency of 1975, the Congress party was badly routed in several states by the Janata Party, which won a large number of seats in Lok Sabha and thus formed the government in the centre. In these states, the Congress ministries were functioning at the time and they still had some more time to run out of completion of the full term. कुछ स्टेट्स में अभी भी कांग्रेस मिनिस्ट्रीज चल रही थी. The Central Home Minister at that time, Charan Singh, wrote a letter to each of the chief ministers of these states suggesting that he should seek the dissolution of the state legislature from the governor and obtain fresh mandate from the electorate. The state of Rajasthan, along with several other states, filed an original suit in the Supreme Court against the Union of India under Article 131, praying the courts to declare this directive of the Home Ministry as unconstitutional and illegal. It was argued that the letter in question was a prelude to invocation of Article 356 in the state, and that the dissolution of the state legislature on the ground mentioned in the said letter was prima facie outside the purview of Article 356. In substance, the suit was designed to forestall the invocation of Article 356 in several states. Supreme Court, however, dismissed the suit unanimously. The broad position adopted by the Supreme Court was that it could not interfere with the center's exercise of power under Article 356 merely on the ground that it embraced political and executive policy and the expediency. Unless some constitutional provision was being infringed, the court cannot come to the aid of the state governments. बेसिकली सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा था देखिए यहाँ पे कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन का वायलेशन तो है नहीं, तो हम आपकी मदद किस ग्राउंड पे करें. ये बेसिकली एक पॉलिटिकल या एग्जीक्यूटिव पॉलिसी है. Now, Article 74 disables the Supreme Court or any court for that matter from inquiring into the very existence or the nature of contents of the ministerial advice to the President. Article 356 Clause 5 makes it impossible for the courts to question the President's satisfaction on any ground unless and until the resort to Article 356 in a particular situation is shown to be so grossly perverse and unreasonable as to constitute patent misuse of this provision or an excess of power on the admitted facts. अब एक बार बता दूं, आर्टिकल 356 क्लॉज 5 ये किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बोला जा रहा है. ठीक है, ये बोला जा रहा है आपके पुराने कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, उस टाइम जो प्रोविजन था. ठीक है, तो वहां पे भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रहा था कि जब तक हमें पेटेंट मिसयूज नहीं दिखता इस प्रोविजन का, तब तक हम नहीं मानेंगे, हम वी विल नॉट इंटरफेयर विद दिस प्रोविजन. उसके बाद जो सेकेंड लिम था, क्योंकि ये एक डायरेक्टिव था, सेकेंड लिम था इसका कि इसमें आर्टिकल 355 का भी इशू था. सो द सेकेंड लिम ऑफ आर्टिकल 355 would seem to cover all the steps which are enough to ensure that the state government is carried on in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. So in the words of Chief Justice Beg, the sweep of Article 355 seems quite wide, and it is evident that it is the part of the duty of the Union towards each state which is sought to be covered by the proclamation under Article 356. It is a proclamation intended to either safeguard against the failure of the constitutional machinery in a state or to repair the effects of the breakdown. It may be either preventive or curative action. Now, Article 356 can be used by the Center for securing compliance with the democratic norms by the states. The language of Article 356 is quite wide and loose, as Justice Bhagwati pointed out and emphasized that the President under Article 356, his satisfaction is a subjective satisfaction and it cannot be tested by reference to any objective test or by judicially discoverable and manageable standards. And the courts cannot go into the question of the correctness or adequacy of the facts and the circumstances on which the satisfaction of the central government is based. So in the instant case, the possibility of the state government having lost the confidence of the people could not be ruled out, and to continue these governments in office would be purely undemocratic in character. Justice Fazal Ali emphasized, on the other hand, that as our constitution is wedded to the democratic pattern of the government, if a particular state government ceases to be democratic or acts in an undemocratic fashion, it cannot be said that the government of the state is carried out in accordance with the provision of the constitution. So in these circumstances, the second part mentioned in Article 355 appears to have been prima facie satisfied. अब इस पे मुझे ज़्यादा views discuss करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. More or less you can gather that the courts are not interested in interfering with the discretion of the President that he exercised under Article 356. Now, the most landmark judgment on Article 356 is S.R. Bommai versus Union of India. The citation is AIR 1994 Supreme Court page number 1918, and it has been rendered by a 9 judges bench. Now let me tell you what happened in this. In 1989, the Janata Dal ministry headed by Shri S.R. Bommai was in office in Karnataka. A number of members defected from his party, and there arose a question mark on the majority support in the house of Bommai's ministry. The chief minister proposed to the governor that the assembly session be called to test the strength of the ministry on the floor of the house, but the governor ignored this suggestion. He also did not explore the possibility of alternative government, but reported to the president that as Shri Bommai has lost the majority support in the house and no other party was in a position to form government, action be taken under Article 356. Consequently, President issued the proclamation on April 1989. Now, Bommai challenged the validity of the proclamation before Karnataka High Court through a writ petition on various grounds, and the High Court ruled that it is wholly outside the scope of judicial review. Now, S.R. Bommai appealed to the Supreme Court against the High Court's decision. Now, besides the Karnataka proclamation, Supreme Court in the meantime was also called upon to decide the validity of similar proclamations under Article 356 in the state of Meghalaya and Nagaland. And besides these, there were three more proclamations before the Supreme Court for review. Those were in Madhya Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh and Rajasthan in 1992 in wake of the demolition of the dispute of Babri Masjid in Ayodhya. Now, the government in these states belonged to BJP, which was sympathetic to the organizations responsible for demolition. The Madhya Pradesh High Court ruled that that from the material placed before it, no inference could be drawn that the state government has disrespected or disobeyed any central direction, nor was any specification of any alleged deeds or misdeeds on the part of the state government in meeting the law and order situation. Merely because there was some worsening of the law and order situation in the state in the wake of Ayodhya incident, no inference could be drawn that the state government could not be carried on in accordance with the provision of the constitution. ये MP High Court ने किया था. Needless to say, this was unprecedented ruling, as never before any proclamation issued under Article 356 has been invalidated by any court. MP High Court ने invalidate करार दे दिया था. ठीक है? That is, this proclamation is invalid because in accordance with the opinion of MP High Court, the constitutional machinery has not been broken down. Accordingly, central government appealed to the Supreme Court against the High Court's verdict. There were also writ petitions pending in respective High Courts challenging the proclamation under Article 356 as mentioned above. All these writ petitions were transferred to the Supreme Court for hearing, and a great significance Bommai case can be gauged from the fact that the Supreme Court had to adjudge the constitutional validity of 6 proclamations issued under Article 356 in 6 different states during 1989 to 1992. Now, the Supreme Court in its judgment by majority declared that the Karnataka, Meghalaya and Nagaland proclamations were unconstitutional, but the proclamations in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh were valid. Thus, the High Court decisions mentioned which were contrary to the Supreme Court's ruling were overruled. Now, the bench of 9 judges, which was constituted in the Bommai case, delivered 7 opinions. Okay. While some judges like Justice Ahmadi, Justice Verma and Justice Ramaswamy adopted a passive attitude towards the judicial review of the presidential proclamation under Article 356, others adopted an activist stand. On the basis of the consensus among the judges, the following propositions were enunciated in relation to Article 356, and I will narrate it to you. And these are regarding the scope of judicial review that is available with the courts. First, President can exercise his power under Article 356 on the advice of Council of Ministers, which in effect the power really belongs to the ministers of the cabinet rank, though it may be formally vested in the President. Secondly, the question whether the incumbent state chief minister has lost his majority in the support in assembly has to be decided not in the governor's chamber but on the floor of the house. There should be a test of strength between the government and others on the floor of the house before recommending imposition of the president rule in the state. Third, the governor should explore the possibility of installing an alternative ministry when erstwhile ministry loses support in the house. Fourth, the validity of the proclamation issued under Article 356 is justiciable on such grounds as whether it was issued on the basis of any material at all, or whether the material was relevant, or whether the proclamation was issued in the malified exercise of power, or was based wholly on extraneous or irrelevant grounds. Fifth, there should be material before the president indicating that the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provision of the constitution. The material in question before the president should be such as would induce a reasonable man to come to the conclusion in question. Once such material is shown to exist, the satisfaction of the president based on such material will not be open to question. But if no such material exists, or the material before the president cannot reasonably suggest that the state government cannot be carried out in accordance with the provision of the constitution, the proclamation made by the president is open to challenge. According to Justice Jeevan Reddy, Article 356 confers upon the President not an absolute power, but the existence of material which may comprise of or include the report of the governor is a precondition. The President's satisfaction must be formed on a relevant material. ठीक है, ये उन्होंने कहा था. 6th point, when a prima facie case is made out against the validity of the proclamation, it is for the central government to prove that the relevant material did in fact exist. Such material may be the report of the governor or any other material. 7th, the dissolution of the legislative assembly in the state is not an automatic consequence of the issue of proclamation. The dissolution of assembly is also not a must in every case. It must be done only when it is found to be necessary for achieving the purpose of the proclamation. 8thly, the provision in Article 356 are intended to be a check on the power of the President under Article 356 clause 1. Supreme Court was referring to Article 356 clause 3 specifically, कि वहाँ पे it requires the approval of the houses of parliament etc etc. तो उन्होंने उस प्रोविजन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बोला कि आर्टिकल 356 का क्लॉज 3 जो है, इट इज इंटेंडेड टू बी चेक ऑन द पावर ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट अंडर आर्टिकल 356 क्लॉज 1. If the proclamation is not approved within 2 months by the two houses of parliament, it automatically lapses. This means that the president ought not to take any irreversible action till the proclamation is approved by the houses of parliament. Therefore, state legislative assembly ought not to be dissolved. The dissolution of the assembly prior to the approval of the proclamation by the parliament under Article 356 clause 3 will be per se invalid. The state legislative assembly should be kept in a suspended animation in the meantime. Once the parliament has put its seal of approval on the proclamation, the state assembly can then be dissolved. The assembly which was suspended will revive and get reactivated if the proclamation is not approved by the parliament. Now let me just tell you that in state of Rajasthan versus Union of India, it was held that the proclamation is valid when issued under Article 356 and the state legislature can be dissolved by the center without waiting for the approval by the houses of parliament. But in SR Bonmai case, Supreme Court disagreed with this view, and for a very good reason, because if the proclamation is not approved by the parliament, it automatically will lapse after 2 months. How is the state government is supposed to run thereafter? It would be inevitable that the dissolved assembly to be revived, for no fresh elections can be held for the house within such short period of 2 months. It takes time for that. So Bomai's view avoid any embarrassment to the central government on this point. So according to the Supreme Court, before dissolution of the state legislative assembly, the seal of approval of the parliament has to be taken. अगर वो नहीं मिली तो क्या कहते हैं, ऐसा proclamation which dissolves the assembly would be per se invalid according to the Supreme Court. It would be invalid in the view of Article 356 clause 3. अब बोनमाई में नया व्यू था, ठीक है. 9th point was that once the proclamation is approved by the parliament and then it lapses at the end of 6 months or is revoked earlier, neither the dismissed state government nor the dissolved legislature will survive. बहुत important है. 10th point, most important point, if the court invalidates the proclamation even if approved by the parliament, I'll re-emphasize, चाहे parliament approve कर भी दे, the action of the president would become invalid and the state government if dismissed is revived and the state assembly if dissolved will be restored. क्योंकि court वापस root से restore करता है, ठीक है. It doesn't matter if the parliament has given a seal of approval, ठीक है. 11th point, Article 74 clause 2 bars an inquiry into the question that whether any or what advice was tendered by the Council of Ministers to the President. Article 74 clause 2 does not bar the court from calling upon the Union Council of Ministers to disclose to the court the material upon which the President has formed the requisite satisfaction. The material on the basis of which the advice was tendered does not become the part of the advice even if the material is looked into by or shown to the President. it does not partake the character of advice. According to Justice Jeevan Reddy, when called upon, the union government has to produce the material on the basis of which the action was taken. It cannot refuse to do so if it seeks to defend the action. The court will not go into the correctness of the material or its adequacy. Its inquiry is limited to see whether the material was relevant to the action taken. Even if some material was irrelevant, the court will not interfere so long as there was some material which was relevant to the action taken. Now, applying these principles, the Karnataka, Meghalaya and Nagaland proclamations were invalidated. In case of Karnataka, the court ruled that the question of lack of majority support for the ministry was not tested on the floor of the House. In case of Meghalaya, after reviewing the circumstances leading to the issue of proclamation, the court ruled that prima facie the material before the president was not only irrational but motivated by factual and legal malafides. In case of Nagaland, there was a defection by the ruling Congress party as 1/3 of its members formed a new party. The chief minister resigned. The leader of the breakaway group claimed the majority support, but instead of allowing him to test his strength on the floor of the House, on the report of the governor, the president issued a proclamation under Article 356. Court ruled that in the circumstances the proclamation was unconstitutional. Now, the case of these proclamations issued in the case of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh fell in a different category. None of the state government lost its majority. These proclamations were issued in the wake of the incident on of the Ayodhya Kand on 6 December 1992. And in this context, in order to uphold the basic constitutional value of secularism, court emphasized that the various constitutional provisions by implication prohibit establishment of a theocratic state and prevent the state from either identifying itself with or favoring any particular religion or religious sect or denomination. The state is enjoined to accord equal treatment to all religions and sects. Religion cannot be mixed with any secular activity of the state. In the words of Justice Ratnavel Pandian, in the matters of state, religion has no place. No political party can simultaneously be a religious party, and politics and religion cannot be mixed. In this case, it was also emphasized that the secularism is the basic feature of the constitution. S.R. Bonmai mein ye kaha gaya tha very expressly. Secularism is a basic feature of the constitution. If any state government acts in a manner which is calculated to subvert or sabotage secularism, it can lawfully be regarded that a situation has arisen in which the state government cannot be carried on in accordance with the constitutional provision. The three proclamations were thus held to be valid on this ground, and the decision of Madhya Pradesh High Court was reversed. अब एक और पॉइंट था इसमें, ये जो एक्सप्रेशन है ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मशीनरी, यू नो इट इज अ साइन क्वा नॉन, मतलब द मोस्ट एसेंशियल कंडीशन फॉर इन्वोकिंग आर्टिकल 356. तो इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है? जस्टिस रामास्वामी बताते हैं, and in his words, and I quote, that the exercise of power under Article 356 is an extraordinary one and needs to be used sparingly when the situation contemplated by Article 356 warrants to maintain a democratic form of government and to prevent the paralyzing of the political process. Single or individual acts or acts of violation of the constitution for good or bad or indifferent administration does not necessarily constitute failure of constitutional machinery or characterizes that such a situation has arisen in which the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the constitution. Single act by itself, मान लीजिए लॉ एंड ऑर्डर हो गया कि भाई स्टेट में थोड़ा क्राइम बढ़ गया है, इस ग्राउंड पे थोड़ी ना आप किसी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को डिसमिस कर सकते हो. इस ग्राउंड पे अगर डिसमिस होने लगी तो बहुत सारी गवर्नमेंट डिसमिस हो जाएंगी. सो दैट इज नॉट अ ग्राउंड. वहाँ पे कुछ ऐसा होना चाहिए जो एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल स्पिरिट के सेंस में, यू कैन जस्ट टेल दैट द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ एविडेंस कैन टेल कि ये जो क्राइम्स बढ़ रहे हैं ये स्टेट गवर्नमेंट स्पॉन्सर्ड क्राइम्स हैं, ये वो खुद कर रही है, और इसका इफेक्ट और पर्पस ये है कि जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का जो स्पिरिट है वो सबवर्ट होना चाहिए, उसको सबवर्ट करना है. लेट अस सपोज दे वांट टू एस्टैब्लिश अ थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट विद इन द यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. इट्स इम्पॉसिबल. ऐसा करेंगे आर्टिकल 356 धड़ाक से लग जाएगा. ठीक है, तो ये था. इस केस के बाद जुडिशियल रिव्यू बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा है आपके क्या कहते हैं आर्टिकल 356 के एप्लीकेशन पे. आपको पता होगा जब हरीश रावत वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया आई थिंक, वो वाला जो केस है जहाँ पे उत्तराखंड में इमरजेंसी इम्पोज कर दी गई थी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जस्टिस वहाँ के तब हाई कोर्ट ने जस्टिस के एम जोसेफ ने वो सेट असाइड कर दी थी। ये उत्तराखंड हाई कोर्ट का ही जजमेंट है, अभी तो वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में। वैसे ही क्या कहते हैं, अरुणाचल प्रदेश में भी थोड़ा ऐसा इशू आ गया था, वहाँ पे जस्टिस केहार सुप्रीम कोर्ट में was hearing that matter and he set aside the emergency that was imposed। तो ये जुडिशियल रिव्यू है, इन सारी चीज़ों में होता ही रहता है। बेसिकली इस केस के बाद बहुत इन्हेंस हुआ था। पुराना व्यू मैंने आपको इसीलिए एक लैंडमार्क केस से बताया, स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया, तो आपको थोड़ा पता चले। तो इसी के साथ हमारे इमरजेंसी के प्रोविजन ख़त्म हो गए, है ना। अब हम लोग आएंगे नेक्स्ट चैप्टर पे, दैट इज़ द अमेंडेबिलिटी ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड दैट वुड बी इट। ठीक है, फिर हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ख़त्म हो जाएगा। सो दैट इज़ इट फॉर टुडे। आई विल सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर।